All right, everybody, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into the War of 1812. You know, the one they usually sum up in, like, what, 2 paragraphs in your high school history book?
Right.
With a quick shout-out to that song about the flag?
Of course.
But trust me, there's a whole lot more to this story than just fireworks and a catchy tune.
Way more.
We're going deep with some encyclopedia finds on this one. And let me tell you, going beyond the textbook bullet points uncovers a wild ride of, like, global power plays, political chess matches, and human stories that'll totally change how you see this war.
Definitely.
So everyone knew things were tense between the brand new U.S. and, well, the giant that was the British Empire. But what was really pushing things over the edge, I mean, besides the usual land and money squabbles, had to be something deeper.
Picture this. You're just sailing along, minding your own business, a citizen of one country, and another country's navy just swoops in and forces you to serve on their ships.
Whoa.
That's impressment. And it was happening to American sailors left and right, a total slap in the face to the U.S., and yeah, people were furious.
Oh, absolutely. That cuts way deeper than some diplomatic insult.
Yeah.
That's personal, attacking individual people. No wonder it became such a huge trigger.
Huge.
But our sources mentioned some other sparks that were adding fuel to the fire too, right?
Exactly. Can't forget what was brewing out on the American frontier. The British were backing Native American tribes pushing back against westward expansion, and this was about way more than just grabbing land. The British even toyed with the idea of setting up a Native American barrier state out west.
Wait, a barrier state? Now that sends chills down my spine. Imagine how different North America would look today if that had actually happened.
Completely different.
This wasn't just a border dispute. It was about the fate of a whole continent.
Exactly. It was a power struggle, plain and simple, with indigenous communities caught right in the middle. It adds a whole other level to understanding why this war even started.
Our source calls the War of 1812, and I quote, frustrating.
Yeah.
And honestly, when you look at some of the military blunders on both sides, it's easy to see why.
Couldn't agree more. The U.S. was this brand new experiment, right? So they were relying heavily on militias, basically, citizen soldiers. Yeah. And while these folks were definitely patriotic, I'm sure they weren't exactly thrilled about leaving their farms and families to fight some drawn-out war.
So basically, trying to wrangle and keep a large, disciplined army together was a logistical nightmare.
Pretty much.
And on the British side, they weren't exactly having a picnic either, were they?
Not quite. They tried to cripple the U.S. economy with a naval blockade, which actually backfired in a way.
How so?
It brought to light some serious internal divisions within the U.S. New England, which relied heavily on trade, got hit hard.
Oof, yeah, that makes sense.
And get this, some Americans even started smuggling goods to the British. Talk about messy.
It's wild how those pressure cooker moments in war can expose the cracks within a nation. Makes you realize this was a fight happening on so many levels, not just on battlefields, but even with all the chaos, there were moments of American triumph, right? We can't forget victories like Harrison's win at Lake Erie or Jackson's campaigns in the Southeast.
Totally. And these weren't just like morale boosters. Controlling the Great Lakes was a massive strategic advantage.
I bet.
And Jackson's wins, not only against the British, but also the Creek Nation, those had huge consequences for American expansion down south.
Which brings us to what has to be one of the most head-scratching moments in military history, the Battle of New Orleans. I mean, you can't make this up. This battle happened after the peace treaty was signed. How is that even possible?
Proof that communication wasn't exactly instantaneous back then.
Right.
But here's the thing. Even though the war was technically over, the Battle of New Orleans turned Andrew Jackson into a bona fide war hero, and it solidified this whole narrative of American victory.
Which, when you think about it, really shows how much power these big dramatic events have to shape how we remember history, even if the timing is a little off.
Totally. Underscores how historical narratives take shape, even if it's not perfectly linear.
Exactly. So, speaking of lasting impressions, what would you say are the biggest, most long-lasting legacies of the War of 1812?
Well, politically speaking, it was pretty much the end of the Federalist Party. They'd been strongly against the war. But even bigger than that, it really ignited this surge in American national identity.
How so?
This young, scrappy nation went toe-to-toe with the world's biggest superpower at the time and came out, if not totally victorious, then at least not broken.
So almost like that whole underdog spirit got woven into the fabric of what it meant to be American.
Right. It's a powerful story, that's for sure. But, and this is important, that sense of national unity, it came with a price. For Native American tribes, the war just cleared the path for even more westward expansion and displacement from their lands.
A good reminder that history is rarely neat and tidy. There are rarely clear-cut winners and losers.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what stories are we not hearing? What perspectives are left out when we focus on those national narratives? What if we went beyond who won which battle and really tried to understand the experiences of those whose voices were silenced?
It's a challenge for anyone who loves history, honestly, to keep digging deeper, to look past the surface, and try to piece together the most complete, honest picture we can.
Absolutely.
Well, there you have it, listeners. The War of 1812. Full of drama on the high seas, clashes on the frontier, and more than its fair share of political maneuvering.
Mm.
But at its heart, it's a story that reminds us to keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep uncovering those hidden chapters that give us a richer, truer understanding of the past.
I like that.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Me too.